Councilor Marajo.
Well, I tend to agree with what Mayor Young said, and that is that it is our responsibility to make sure that we have in place a strong city manager for the city of Eden Prairie, both for our residents and both for our employees and for our benefit. And a decision is very eminent on Mr. Neal's position, and I think we can't put our head in the sand and say that it's not going to happen. It is going to happen, and it will be decided tonight. It doesn't mean we need to take action, but I think we have a number of critical things coming up. We have the budget process coming up, which is critical, and I think the sooner we can get somebody up to speed and employed and up to knowing what's going on, the better it will be for that person, for our staff, and for the council. And so from that perspective, I think we really need to look at what is our process. I think it's important for us to review what is our process to hire a city manager. What are the criteria of the job? I think we need to relook at that. I'd also like to look at what does our contract look like with Mr. Neal again, and then review what we would anticipate maybe changing. And we've had some discussion about that already. What would we look at changing for a future city manager? And I think we need to really start putting all those pieces in place now rather than later, and preparing for that potential inevitability. And so whether or not that's going to take a special meeting to decide, or whether we want to do it now, but I think we need to get the ball rolling and put the process in place and put it in motion. And I do think we will need to retain the services of a recruiter to employ a good, high quality manager for the city. And you know, I think that's for the council to decide as to who that recruiter is. I personally know Greg Albrecht, know him to be a very reputable individual, and one that does work in this line. And I think having someone in the city of Eden Prairie represent the city would be a good idea for a lot of reasons, and Greg certainly would be a good individual for that. I've already spoken to him and asked him if that would be something in his area of expertise and something that their firm would be interested in representing, and he indicated that they would. So from that perspective, he would be ready and willing to do that. It's up for the council to decide if that's where the direction we want to go, but I do think we need to get things started sooner rather than later.
Councilman Nelson.
I do think we need to get this started, but we do have some decisions to make about what we're looking for, how wide the search is. I've worked with Greg Albrecht too on committees, but we usually ask for a cost proposal from people, and I have no idea what his cost proposal would be. There are other people in this field that obviously may have been or still around that were used 4 years ago. I would rather sit back for a week or two and get cost proposals. I would hate to be accused of a good old boy. You know him from Rotary, you know him from this and that, and we're not going to take a cost proposal, we're just going to take his thing. I don't think that's good for Greg Albrecht or his firm, or for other firms that might be interested in putting in a proposal.
I agree.
So I'm not, without that cost proposal, I'm not willing to pick a person tonight, though I would love to get some fast proposals from some possible vendors who are competent and have all kinds of good backgrounds for that. I'm not willing to do it without that. I do think we need to start discussion within the council about this type and style of contract and the kinds of things we're looking for in a city manager, so that we can give whoever is finally selected as a recruiter the best possible way of finding what we think we're looking for. Though maybe they'll find somebody better than we thought we were looking for. That's their job. Also, whether we're doing a national or a state search, I know we've done national searches before. I know there's some problems with how much we can pay with the governor's salary and everything in Minnesota state law, so I don't know which makes sense. But that all goes back to a proposal. And so I would like to make some requests for proposal. I don't even know legally if we have to put this out for a proposal like we would do for other type of services or not. But I do have to know how much it's going to cost before I sign a legal document.
Councilman Duxted.
I'd like to make a motion at this time that we pass a resolution designating Council Member Aho to affirmatively go forward and obtain a proposal from Greg Albrecht and at least 2 other people that he believes are qualified or competent. And after obtaining a minimum of 3 proposals, that he distribute those amongst us so we can evaluate a recruiter forthwith.
Councilman Duxted, before we move further on your motion, it's not yet been seconded, but there were some lights on. I want to give people the opportunity to speak to it. Councilman Case.
Yeah, I'm really concerned that we would be moving quickly on a person. I'm concerned about the whole process, but I do accept that it's within our judgment, and certainly as a majority of us, that if we felt the concern to get this moved along, I respect everybody's perspective on that. I just want to point out, as to show the strength of another name, Harry Brule and his Decision Resources has worked with this city for, I don't know, 12 years, 15 years, a long time. He has annual surveys with community, with staff about city managers that are massive in notebooks. He probably has more knowledge and data about what the city is looking for in a city manager, about what staff prefer. And so to take someone like that with his incredible wealth of knowledge and just kind of push him aside because 3 of you know Greg Albrecht, and I know Greg too, is concerning, or disconcerting to me. The other piece, and I want to be really, really careful here, I am not in any way accusing anybody of open meeting law violation. I want to point out something, though, that you're playing with fire here and you're touching on something. In the state of Minnesota, you can only be removed from office for a felony or open meeting law violation. That's it. So, John, you raised Greg Albrecht's name tonight, and you mentioned he's on the Rotary, and you started to talk about how well you know him through these organizations. You supported that. You said he's on the Rotary, he's in these other groups. But you said you contacted him. Now we got 3 people here that are like, is this, you know, it looks bad. It looks like you've talked out of this meeting. I'm not saying that you are in any way. I'm saying that bam, 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 all 3 of you were Greg Albrecht, Greg Albrecht, Greg Albrecht. I think you have to be really careful, and that's why I think we should not be talking outside of this meeting here. Brad, I appreciate it as a friend that you may have gone to somebody. That's great. But I don't think to talk in a meeting before 5 of us and to say that I spoke with this person, I guess as a friend you can say that, but to say it in a meeting makes it sound like you went as a city council member. I think that was inappropriate in my opinion. But I think to move on a Greg Albrecht decision tonight would look really bad. And I just want to point that out.
Well, Councilman Case, just a couple things. First of all, I think that you have unfairly characterized this evening's discussion, and I think that you have made an accusation, which I don't think you have the facts to support. That point notwithstanding, I think Councilman Nelson raised the issue of getting other bids and having other people speak to it. Councilman Aho agreed with that. That item discussion item had not gone around full circle. Had it made its way to me before you made your accusation, I would have said, you know what, she's absolutely right. That is right. We should get multiple people to have an opportunity to tell us what it would cost for that service to the city. I mean, my comments were, in follow-up to Mr. Dux's, yeah, I do know Greg. I think most people know Greg. I mean, he's very active in this town. And I don't think that either Mr. Duxted's comments would be as a surprise to anybody. I think everybody knows that he's in Rotary, and he's a member of the Chamber, and that he's involved in ABC. So I think that is, notwithstanding your prefatory comment, you did exactly what you said you weren't going to do. Councilman Aho.
I take extreme offense at your accusation that I violated open meeting laws. I watch open meeting requirements very, very carefully and make absolutely certain that I do absolutely nothing that would violate those laws and those requirements. I watch those extremely critically, and for you to accuse us of doing that really is very upsetting to me, and I take great offense to that, Mr. Case, because I would do nothing to violate those, and it really is upsetting that you do that. I talk to Greg not as in an official capacity. I see him in Rotary every week. I talk to him just to find out if his firm does that kind of work, if he would be open to doing that if the situation arose. I made no indications to him that would promise him that work or anything. I feel strongly that we use an RFP process for everything that we do, and I would highly recommend we do the same thing in this case. I simply suggested that we start the process rolling, that we start moving forward with this rather than to just sit here and wait. And that's it.
Mr. Neal.
I had my light on prior to Councilman Duckstead making his recommendation, but I just did want to offer you that there are some groups and people that are prominent in Minnesota in terms of executive search for city manager positions. Mr. Albrecht happens to be one of them, but there are others. And if the council wishes, staff is certainly willing to make some contacts with those folks, put together some kind of general specifications for an RFP, and I bet you we could have proposals back for you to review in probably 2 weeks.
That sounds good to me, Councilman Case, is your light still on?
Just a real quick comment. Open meeting law is a perceptual thing, and that's, I was just pointing out that I think the perception you were dancing with a little bit. So I wanted to point that out.
Councilman Duckstead.
I agree with the merits. Mr. City Manager, it sounds good enough to me. Let's go forward. So you're going to get some proposals or some information to us.
If that's the wish of the council, we would be happy to do that.
I would like to add that I would like us to solicit proposals.
All right, moving on to the report of the city manager.